10-year anniversaries are, first and foremost, a terrifying reminder of just how quickly time passes. Also, useful milestones where you can stop, reflect, and pull lessons from the past forward into the present.
Weeks before, months before, I had no confidence it was going to happen. I actively worked within Boyd Gaming to try to convince the regulators to push the date back.
For that launch, we had spent months researching and planning, and honestly, the goal was to get everybody across the finish line at the same time, and I was responsible for the lab and the technical approvals, and literally our team worked 24 hours round the clock to get everybody across the finish line.
I think there were so many unknowns leading up to that actual launch moment. The whole GeoComply team at the first minute of the launch, we were still holding our breath, wondering, is this even going to work? Are we going to pull it off? How is it going to go for us?
The way that New Jersey had positioned the launch for the state was really unusual. They put one date, which was 1 month, 1 day, 1 time, 1 minute that everybody could go live. They didn't have to go live then, but in a competitive environment, nobody wanted to be late. So everyone was racing to go live at the same time. Put enormous stress on us because we weren't just going live with one customer for the first time ever. We were going live with all of them at the same minute, at the same hour, of the same day.
The night that we launched in New Jersey was epic. We had a house in Brigantine, which was like 15 minutes from Atlantic City, where I had myself and David Briggs and a couple other the early teams sitting around one table.
I was responsible for cooking for everyone, because if I didn't cook and give them food, they just wouldn't eat. I was really into it. And I was on this old barbecue outside the Airbnb we rented on Brigantine Beach, and it was really old, and it hadn't been cleaned in a long time. And I lit it, and then I went inside to get some food and to prepare a salad, and then somebody asked me a question about this and a question about that, and I realized, I need to check the barbecue. And I looked back, and on the deck of the house, the barbecue was just on flames. So I grabbed this big jug of, big water bottle and just go racing outside and try and put the flames out because all the fat in the barbecue just exploded. And as I was doing it, I looked up thinking everyone must be looking at me like a moron. I just nearly burned the whole house down. No one paid any attention. They were just head down on their laptop, the reflection of the enormous inferno on the deck, not distracting them at all. So I guess I laughed at that. No one else laughed. They weren't even aware.
We were in Vegas. I recall running to a trash can in the office because we were so frantic. We weren't even short on a few seconds to be able to throw away a piece of garbage. So that, I think, is my best memory to highlight the whole feeling of panic and pressure that was live and well in the office.
I remember calling the Vegas office, talking to Maya and Lindsay, and they said, everyone's so excited and busy that we're now even running to the garbage cans.
Little did we know that we had heard that they were already drinking champagne over at Brigantine in the New Jersey team location. So at that point, we stopped running to trash cans and slowed it down a little bit to enjoy ourselves.
I mean, what a ride is what I would say. I still remember the days when everyone was making fun of Chris Christie for telling that iGaming could gross $1 billion one day in New Jersey. I myself is always a bit conservative, but I was hoping for $700, $800 million, something like this. I look at today, it's getting close to $1.5 billion, and I'm in the camp of those who think that we'll have many more years at double-digit growth in New Jersey, and 10 years from now, we should be anywhere between $2.5 and $3 billion, which means that online casino alone will be as big as or generate as much revenue as all Atlantic City land-based casinos combined, which I have to say is still mind-blowing to me.
We have a successful launch night, and the next day, I don't know, I think it must have been George Rober called me from the DGE, and he's like, Director Reebok wants you to come in, there's going to be some media there, and he wants you to explain what's going on this map that you guys built. And so I walked into the office of the DGE, and at that point I hadn't done a lot of public speaking or media. And I definitely didn't have a succinct way of explaining what the map represented. I kind of look back on that, and every time I see the map, I really think of myself like stumbling on every word to describe geolocation, especially at that time when people didn't even know what the word geolocation meant.
Really a team effort. We felt like, we were doing something important. We felt a sense of urgency, and it really brought everybody together. And we really thought that once we launched and we proved that you can do things with a high level of integrity for online gambling, that it would take off nationally. And we were really surprised when it didn't. Only a few states launched after us, but not until, we overturned PASPA in the Supreme Court. That's when online really took off around the country. And really, we set the foundation with regulations that a lot of jurisdictions copied, pretty much all of them throughout the country when sports betting launched.
So we were a very geographically dispersed team even then. We had a base in Vegas, but we had a dev team that was in Ukraine. And for the Ukrainians, they were like hyper excited about this project. They really got into it. And if it was difficult for us working long hours, they were working until the middle of the night, almost every single night in the run up to the launch. And at the time when we actually went live, probably half the company was based in Ukraine. And the role that they played in the success of our launch was enormous. And I flew out either the day of launch or the day after launch to go and be with them and to really support what was happening after the launch, because you prepare for the launch and then there's the next thing. And we had releases coming up every single day. The DG had this structure where you would go down for a few hours and then you had to make any changes and then you would go up. So the development team was just as busy after the launch as before the launch. And it's just really important to think of the role that the Ukrainian team had in our successful launch and the successful launch of the New Jersey market and beyond. Until the Russian invasion a year ago, over half the company was still based in Ukraine. And I'll always remember that that team and those people and their efforts and their contribution was absolutely essential to our success. And I'm very proud that most of those team that were with us in those early days are still with us today. And they might not be in Eastern Ukraine anymore, but they're in Warsaw or they're in Toronto or Montreal, and they're still with GeoComply, and we're always very grateful to the contribution they made to our successful launch.